Hello, world. Let me adjust you. There we are. All right. Okay. Before we get to hello, world. We're doing the Salem Poetry Festival, and there we are. And we're going to start off today with two readings from Corbin University students. And we're going to start with Annabelle Shelsky.
The first poem I'm going to be reading is titled Linoleum. Okay, so here we go. There is something beneath my kitchen floor, wriggling under the linoleum tiles.
Whoa.
Start over.
Step forward?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Say something. Can you hear it?
How's that? Better? Okay. All right. This first one is titled Linoleum. There's something beneath my kitchen floor, wriggling under the linoleum tiles. I mind my steps and shuffle to keep quiet. But on some less than lucid mornings while scrambling eggs, I take an ill-fated step, and the two of us fall perfectly in sync, and the floor swells into a hill that I stand on. My heart believes I've stepped on a small child, or a pretty bug, or a bird's nest, or a blade. This is a bad feeling I've been acquainted with. I'd like to think someone placed it there to spite me. I could be happier believing that a secret enemy laughs as I agonize over my next moves. I'd rather not acknowledge that a beast of its size could worm its way beneath my floors without me noticing. Surely it isn't stuck there. And the second one is titled The Upper Crust. I ate oysters, shell, meat, and pearl, to the politely unspoken horror of my dinner party guests. One tight-laced lady had the mercy to inform me that I used my salad fork improperly. I thanked her and corrected myself slowly. Under the strain of 40 hungry, high-set irises, one must show no fear. Thank you.
Thank you, Annabelle. Next up is Cherry Child.
The first poem I will be reading is called To All the Princesses Who Slept on the Pea, who traveled days to be tested and fail, cold bones fighting cold earth. Dust and muck worked into you like scrimshaw on the bone knife your father lent you, who watched the sun rise from horseback and felt each jolt jostle between your ribs. They drew you a bath in a marble pool, filled with satin foam and lavender blossoms, towels king-sized and kindred soft. To all of you left in a quiet boudoir with heavy drapes, cucumber crisp sheets, and green tea pillows, who fell like heavy chocolate custard, folding into 100 whipped cream comforters, sweetened with strawberries, who sank and slept in a nightgown the new moon must have made. It is a fine thing to dream. This next one is called Incantation, and it is inspired by living out on a hay farm. Right when you finished killing the starlings on the porch rail, take each spotted green-black arrow fletch and dip it in hot red wax melted in an old green bean can. Save these for later. Collect the dented, stripped steel nuts from the greasy floor where you, the tractor dentist, removed old teeth from the header and sliced open your fingertips only twice, so blood trailed on the slick black smears. String these on a rope of milkweed fuzz, a stink bug spun on a copper wheel. Wear this every day around your neck, so your collarbone turns old oil green.
Thank you, Cherry. Tonight's featured reader is John VanDreal. John uses his creative vision and accessible writing style to explore both the darker and quirkier sides of human behavior. His work has appeared in numerous publications, including his recently published book, Last to Sand. He's also the author of 3 books on violence prevention. An award-winning artist and a musician with songs published on 2 LPs, he resides in Salem, Oregon, where he laments the loss of smoke-filled taverns and the disappearance of free downtown parking. Here is John.
So good to be here. Can you hear me back there? Indulge me for a minute. If you don't want to be in a picture, cover your face. That was awesome. A great crowd. All right, this goes to all my relatives. What's left? And those that will admit it. Annabelle and Jerry? Sherry? Cherry, thank you for warming up the crowd.
Oh, of course.
Awesome. Colette, thank you for inspiring and encouraging and advising tomorrow's future poets. You bring these students that just rock it when they come and read. I know it's probably the wrong word for poetry, rock it, but it really is pretty awesome. So, thank you. Big round of applause for these two. I know we already thanked Juniper and Mark, but thank you for putting this thing together. This is pretty awesome. And everybody that helped, and all those that brought snacks and drinks and shout out. I can't do shout outs because there are too many people who are here who inspire me. But Mid-Valley Poetry Society, Thursday night poetry project people, I steal your work and I try to turn it into mine. So I thank you. I think you'll hear it. And for those of you that are supporting this, this is the first? This is the maiden voyage. This is the third. Oh, how tragic for me. And awkward. This is the one that matters, though. Yeah, all right. So you all have handouts. If somebody doesn't have a handout and somebody is here with someone else and wants to share, feel free to pass those around a little bit. Here's why I gave them to you. I want you to be able to see the form as I read it and read along if you want. And I do want them back, though, so don't take them with you.
Do we read out loud?
I'll read. I'll do the reading, you do the imagining. You do the imagining. So that's, it's a help. But you don't have to read it. You can listen if you want. It's just there if you need it or want it. Here's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to bookend this reading with 2 poems from my book, Glass to Sand in the back there, so the beginning and the end. And that book is available for $10 a copy, and then I'm running a special 2 books for $20. Yep, you got it. And who knew, honestly, who knew, when I started doing this, I did a lot for therapy. I've been writing poetry since I was a kid. I didn't share it with anybody. It was terrible stuff. But then, I don't remember who introduced me to Eleanor. I think it was Cheryl Randall. Where's Eleanor? Where'd you go? Yes, was it Cheryl? I think it was. And invited me to the Mid-Valley. And so I attended largely from a therapeutic purpose. Like I won't go into my other job, but it's pretty intense. And so I was able to go and just listen to people read poetry and write my own stuff. And it was very therapeutic. But who knew I would publish a book someday or have it published and make literally dozens of dollars from that. Dozens of dollars. To quote Kristen Granger gave me that line, by the way. So I need to cite her as my source. Dozens of dollars. Pretty awesome.
Buy some eggs.
Yeah. Some years, tens of dollars. So, in between the bookends, you're going to hear some new material. And it's in its, I won't say its last draft, but it's moving that direction. And some of it is inward leaning, and some of it is outward leaning. And yes, there will be bar poems for those of you who have read my work or heard me read. There are a few bar poems in there. I timed the reading. It is 23 minutes. So if I don't talk too much while I'm doing the reading, we can finish this up in about 25 minutes. Let's talk about some housekeeping real quickly. applause. I looked it up in the Book of Etiquette. You're not supposed to tell people when to applaud. You're not supposed to do that. Except Bob. Bob, stop. But I do want to make a recommendation, because sometimes it's awkward, that kind of thing. So what if we didn't applause between the poems or after poems? We'll give them a little space to breathe. And should you feel compelled to applaud at the end of the reading, please do so. Now, that said, sighs and kind of audible, kind of groans of appreciation and approval and assent, that's welcome throughout. Absolutely welcome throughout. So, yes, that kind of stuff.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. So I think that's the housekeeping. I'm going to dive in here with this first piece. Bob's got a lighter back there, and a real one. It's not even on your phone. That's cool. So I decided I chose this poem from the book to start things. And just so you don't think I'm drinking pure alcohol, this is cut with water, but it does help with my voice. That's what I'm saying anyway. Yeah. Given the current state of affairs right now, I thought I'd start with this one from the book. It's called Maslow's Leapfrog. These times of fires, feuds, plagues, and floods, more intense than in the past? Probably not. It was worse for my ancestors. They knew calamity as Hydra. Still, in the context of our times, infectious disruption tows chaos in its wake, while the politics of acrimony shoves civility to the outer fence, pressing its back to thin, rusty wire and slicing barbs. We watch the misfortune of others repeat and reside on our screens, sidewalks, and vacant lots. Trauma is an abstract experienced subjectively. Try, as we always do, this game of leapfrog on Maslow's stairs often ends with limbs splayed wide and yanked back by body's heavy burden, fingers left to grasp at lower treads. And on to the new material. This first is titled Obsidian Revisited, is a bar poem. So we're going to start with bar poem, sort of. Also, I did an experiment here. I wrote some real run-on sentences, and I tried to link them together. And with my friend John Edmonds, who's an extremely proficient editor, I made sure that it is a structured sentence correctly. But I just want to see if I can get through it in a reading without getting tongue-tied. This one's called Obsidian Revisited. The angels speak in slang, never formal, the subtext of cheerful declarations or throaty, lust-entwined whispers and guarded glances from patrons in conversation with friends or foes, just barely heard from where I sit in the corner of the bar. Like the rain pressing and pattering lightly on a window pane, unnoticed under the industrial city sounds, ambient but present. The ghouls speak in loud, crunchy metaphor, an additive and eclectic pigeon comprising jovial backslapping, boozy sways, and blood-rimmed eyes zippered with boastful barks and neurological misfires of anger or slurred and miscalculated words. They dovetail, harmonized in ethereal dance made manifest through human hosts, blurred by muted light, as if black obsidian sliced, smooth and thin, a dampened smile, a moist eye, a pressured bray, a bold accusation. This cosmic stasis at perceivable scale of angels and ghouls, awkward but resonant, modulating then settling, engages my art, tired and hesitant, but willing. This is an ode to the extraordinary yet complicated relationship of a father and son. So this is to my son, who is 37 years old now. Nightmare to vision. In the rapids and whitewater, I lose you, twirled and tugged by stirred silt and river froth. After you were born, I dreamt of drowning. I dreamt of you drowning while my arms slugged at the current to snag you, my eyes blinking, pulsing to see you through wave and debris. You, with puzzled milk-toothed grin and fingers reaching, unable to understand the jeopardy, looking out to me for rescue. But the river yanks me away and we are lost to each other. Initially dismissed as the angst-driven sleep deprivation of a new parent, the terrors continued until I viewed them as omen. And haunted, I gave up all sporting that involved turbulent waters, body surfing, scuba, rafting, sacrificed to the thought of losing you or you losing me. After almost 4 decades later, I still suffer these visions. So many oceans have passed beneath our bridge, and every drop has meant something. A skirted homework assignment, a fort built with a trap door, a shared disdain of bullies, the love for irreverent humor, the admiration of creativity. And the complicated flip side, a shared journey redirected by independence. A once delightful cluster of inside jokes untangled by liberation. The language of family slipping to slang from a loss of time and exposure. The waves, rapids, and debris happened, but we still are breathing, tethered, in arm's reach, afloat, and steady as a lifeline. Another bar poem. The story of twin brothers. I know him well. The man sitting at a high top, using the straw from his drink to floss his teeth. He's finished with his plate of wings, bones clumped like a game of pickup sticks to the side on a napkin. I've sat with him over the years, slumped over beers and punch testing our past for moments in common, familiar and sour and sometimes glorious. He's borrowed my ear. His story, long, with tangents, tragic, ruinous, then redemptive and resurrecting. He speaks of 2 men, twin brothers who inhabit his spiritual core, both living inside him. He tries to speak for the brother whose mind is present, pendulous and between the outlined boundaries of emotion, uncharged and indifferent, free of hyperbolic railguns or nihilistic detachment. The brother who can isolate each moment like a millisecond shot in a flash action photography, appreciating each thumbnail in its static form, but willingly leashed to the trajectory as it passes by or through the lives of others, lush, ordinary, or vapid. He rarely speaks for the brother whose guts twist with harsh self-judgment, who carries his adolescent rage like a pickaxe, low and poised, to swing wide and through anything that resists his feeble ego. When he does, he's quick to recover, applying collar and strap while sweeping the smashed bits from the ground. When I catch his eye, I'll know which brother is about to speak. I wrote this one about my pop, who's still alive and making art at 93. He's an artist. 93. He's living his days in a Groundhog's Day dementia, but it's the good kind of dementia. It's really, he has a blast. He just reinvents his day every day, and he's having a lot of fun. And so this is called The Artist at 93. He's made hundreds of paintings, and these are his last. A half dozen originated over a decade ago, glazed and layered with oil and hue, never completed. I'm working on a painting of the Snake River. You should see it. The colors are vivid. I've seen it. Over the years, it has drifted in form from blue to gray to white sky, autumn orange to spring green, bright and bold to shadowed and tonal, morphed like a photo montage of an Arizona butte taken through the years. Like his transient memories, each work holds echoes of his past, now sanded and scrubbed of the original idea. With each application of color and texture, the solution to a problem he sees in the moment with no recollection of having solved it in the past. The recycle fuels his journey. He calls me daily, sometimes 5, even 10 times, always without memory that we just spoke. And he watches the same dozen movies, repeats the same stories, and questions about my deceased mother. She really was a great person. How is she doing? Like a mad scientist in a B-movie thriller, he half scribbles the answers into notes, taping them to walls, mirrors, and doors, then removes them and sketches new thoughts into and over the old. Notes turn into flowcharts, haphazard, tattered, and undetermined. He stacks his paintings and art books, towering monuments to his intellectual past, on the floor and against walls. He slipped, then tripped over a cluster of blank canvases, gashing the surface of one, crunching the corner of another, then breaking his hip. Sometimes he sees the surgery scar and asks me about its origin, and speaks in wonder of how he doesn't remember any of it. This one's inward leaning. It's called, if I pronounce this correctly, kakasaikia. Anybody know what that means? Well, you have a cheat sheet in front of you, so I'll read it. Google IA help me with this. A neurological condition that distorts time perception, making events seem to slow down or speed up, often experienced during stressful or traumatic situations. Many of you have probably experienced that. It's almost an out-of-body experience. I once threw a plate at the fireplace and watched its rim splinter like an icicle batted from an eave, its core evaporating into a puff. A staggered citation of lost love and all its viscera in shards and mist, lingering in the air, facile and suspended. My mind entwined of heartache and bad memories that haunt but can't be captured, arrested in a freeze frame. When the air cleared, the world was silent. Paused in anticipation to see the remnants of the plate resting as crumbs and ashes in the carpet. The breath I breathed was full and refreshing, so I chucked a second plate, then a third, then another. Eventually, the action tired and the world looked away, moving beyond me in my grief-riddled catharsis. Days later, I vacuumed the debris and scrubbed that layer of rage from my thoughts and replaced the earthenware, still breakable but now fully appreciated. Another bar poem, sort of. This is also a portraiture of a man you should never be friends with, all right? Called Orphaned. Orphaned. Looking across the tired, down at the heel lounge with eyes that hold nothing, his face flush from a diet filled with preservative and half racks of beer. He's been 86 from most bars except this one. I knew him 40 years ago, a man who once wrapped others with compassion and care. His gift is now corroded by the penetrative infusions of bourbon and animosity. Once his humanity stumbled, it failed to regain its pace, eventually skidding to a halt. His toxic habits became his daily jam, inspiring him to engage others through hostile challenges to their success and blame for his failure. Resentment frequently led to brutish fights, dogged and savage. His friends have tapped out, and his kids have fled, but his mother endured. The last layer of delicate skin surrounding his ego, and grasped at remedies, investing in his recoveries, each one lasting long enough to tease out her hope. When she died, he quoted faith and believed he'd see her again, forgiven for how he drained her of her joy. His religion became his only strand of purpose, vellus hair thin and desperate. but it was no match for the heft of emotional debt he owed, and he was orphaned by his God, left knee-deep and sinking in the abyss. He sits now, motionless and careful, like a gathering of anger, dormant but charged and ready to strike. It's another inward leaning and an ode to a walk through darker days with my wife. Refuge. Late afternoon, we stepped softly, our voices low and husky, furtive and unnoticed by the shadows. Winter solstice lawn with edges bleary and faint. Our terrain, streets pressed under skies so overcast that photosensitive porch lights remain lit, bewildered by the sparse radiation, anemic in the colorless mist settling from above. We enter nightfall, the sky now matte black and starless, and stop at the rails of the bridge to watch the water below, unrested and churning, but formless to our eyes. Its voice at once challenging and dismissing. Suddenly, static shapes, we weigh into the concrete curb like worn stone figures sculpted by an artisan of an older time. The journey prompts our sense of alone, yet together, and we step toward home, brightened by the marrow of yellow light, casting the shrubbery from the windows into short shadow, inviting and safe. Inside, echoes of our past warm us like the heat of a gallant fire, projected from a river stone hearth. The next two poems are about my mom, who passed away a couple years ago. I've written a lot of poems, can't read them in front of people. I can read these two. I'm not sure which way they lean, but we'll give it a shot. To fall from where, I don't know. After your first, the doctors wanted to prune your insides. They said the fruit rotted and rusted long before its time. You said no. You wanted another, and despite the relentless ache of a womb-turned spiderweb, you resisted the knife and endured 4 more years until I fell from where, you said heaven, I don't know, to suckle and sleep at your pillow while you recovered from the damage done by my elbows, knuckles, and toes, pawing their way through your tomb turned barely fecund. Such damage doesn't heal easily, and doctors those days sliced big and scraped clear everything in their path. And now, 61 years later, your skin has lost its memory of that day and spidered thin across your toes, knuckles, and elbows as you fall to where, I don't know. You said heaven just before you left. That was Here without you. Wow. Here without you. Loss, we'll start that again. Loss writes its own timeline, trembles rational thinking, grinds will to the immediacy of dread, tosses the day from side to side, punctuates pleasant moments with hard stops, loosens grasp on when, until, and if, files almost everything under one, uglies now with matte gray hue, beautifies before with amplified palette, highlights sense with vivid focal point. And a little lighter. So this suite, this group of poems that I'm reading and another dozen, I'm trying to put together into a suite for my children that will probably be titled something like Important Things to Tell My Kids. So the title of this poem is actually An Important Thing to Tell My Kids. An important thing to tell my kids. Too late, I realized our subjection to genetic destiny. I wish I could have trimmed the zipper of my DNA before I passed this grunge to my kids. Now I can't help but detect my weakness braided into their fear, trailed by neurosis and acrimony. When they were young, I told them to use a structure built of virtue and not anger, to bridge turbulent water. And if they fall in, to let go of control and swim with grace and kindness, edging their way to the shore. I told them to leave jealousy and envy to the deeper water. But I forgot to tell them that these things take a lifetime of flash floods to learn. This is definitely something I should tell my kids. Most definitely inward reading. Something I'm still working with this one, but if I'm looking at grieving the loss of our memory of people we've lost that we love. So this is the goal. Let's see. I have sanded and beaten this poem up for 3 years. At this point, I can't even be objective. So I'm going to shoot it at you, see what you think. It's called Fumes. The neurosynaptic engine purrs, the frequencies of science, pistons pumping, pushing into remembrance and trailing those we've loved and lost. A sympathetic smile, a mournful frown, the timbre and pitch of a nervous voice, found but slightly askew from the photos and voicemail recordings. All we have left of them, or all they left behind. Clouded, then opaque, recollection dodges our grasp, and we blink to reset. The engine amps higher, pressing both clutch and acceleration pedals while gears move thoughts to dashboard. Don't let them slip away, says the operator, huffing at memory fumes. And to wrap up, I have two. This goes back. This is an old poem. I have rewritten this a million times. This is about when my lovely wife had not exactly chosen me yet, and was thoroughly torturing me 25 years ago. It's called Her Approach. She's late, always late. I hook my foot around the chair leg, fold my paper cocktail napkin into triangles, suck an ice cube from my glass and chew it with anxious fervor. Pull another and pinch, squeeze it, launching across the sidewalk into the street. I watch, her watch, the pedestrian signal. I'm always adoring from a distance. She knows, she senses, I think. What does she adore? She locates me, looks my way, her eyes haunt with intense gaze, used sparingly though. She looks away. The green light coaxes her forward, a walk so straight, so true. At my table, she stops, stands, hesitates. And then, she did choose me. We're together. So I'm going to wrap up with a little sexy poem about that. It's a conclusion, but it's also a beginning. Extra credit for any of you who can pick any of the songs that are referenced in this. There are 3. Okay? It's called No Matter. No matter how it ends, no matter how it starts, here, the heat of your body radiates the space between us. The soothing humidity of your whisper finesses the surface of my face. The iridescence of your veins project cobalt blue in green to my dilated eye, occupying my soul like a tenor solo in a cavernous church, or the subtle but exquisite, loosely phrased notes of a trumpet-sounding modal jazz, fully satisfying as horn and hormone burst into bones and croon, a single whole note filling the measure then phrasing into the next to inspire another ballad. Thank you. See me a break for the extra credit if you pick those songs up. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Wasn't that great? Sponsors. So, I don't have any of my lists with me, so.
It's on the sheet there.
It is on the sheet. Before I forget, here are some sponsors. I just want to say that we had actually thought, okay, we can get some sugar daddy to like pay for this whole thing. No. We raised $3,000, give or take, okay, and basically it was all by people who are in Salem and from the Salem Poetry Project really regularly. So a big thank you to everybody who provided funds, including David, who provided the funds, Life Source, Manna Bakery, Walter Moon, of course, Stephanie Palmblad, attorney at law.
Walter moons a dog.
Huh?
Walter moons a dog.
He spent a lot of hours, that dog. Poor dog. Okay, so a couple things. Number one is we have two lists up here. One is for the open mic and one's for the mailing list. So if you want to be on the mailing list, you sign up on that one. If you want to be on the open mic, you sign up on that one. John's got some books back there for $10. Bob's got some books out there for free.
Market, 2 for 20.
2 for 20, exactly. If you buy a book, you might have to automatically take one of the other books that Bob's got. I don't know how that's going to work. We have some food back there. Eat the food. I think there's some cake, some cheesecake. There's some other stuff back there, so eat that stuff. Otherwise, you can eat tomorrow. I don't know. Or we'll have it on Saturday. So we'll take a break for about 15 minutes or so and buy the books, eat the food, and then we'll come back and do the open mic.
Yes, definitely that.
You should do 2.5. Squeeze in. Oh, I like that idea. Yeah, I mean, you can do a whole reading. And, you know, you do that once, I don't know. You might change the rules.